Hi, this is Brad Schmitt with Schmitt Chiropractic and Rehab. I'm here to talk to you today about sports injury prevention and some exercises you can be doing at home to prevent these problems. The body works as a functional chain. If one chain in that link is broken, it will put undue stress on another part of the body. So exercises like knee extensions, leg curls, working specific shoulder muscles themselves will do nothing at preventing these injuries. All that they are doing is strengthening that specific muscle group. Functional exercises and these sport-specific exercises are what we need to be doing to prevent these injuries. Pretty much any kids that get involved with youth sports at a young age, all the way up through the high school and college level, these exercises can be beneficial. They can be done on your own at home, or coaches can implement them at practice. But typically with practice time restraints, these things are best to do at home. So 3 to 4 times a week minimum during the off season is perfect, and even during the season is a good idea as well. The core is controlled by the transverse abdominis and the multifidus muscles. These are what stabilize your low back. Traditional things like sit-ups, crunches, anything where you're bringing your knees to your chest do not work your core, they work your abs. But for core stability, these are 2 very good exercises. The first one is called side bridge. We're going to demonstrate that here. So I'm going to have Austin start on his side just like he is, and we're going to have the knees bent at about a 45-degree angle. And what I want Austin to do is when he comes up, pretend like he's being pulled on a string up this direction. So Austin, go ahead and come up. And that's perfect. So we want him straight in a line this way, and then straight this way as well. And what we want him to do is hold it for 30 seconds, then he'll rest for 10 seconds, come back up and hold it for 30. And if he can do that easily, we're going to progress to the feet. So go ahead and relax, Austin, and we'll do it off the feet now. So we'll extend the feet out a little bit more, and then go ahead and come up. So it's the same thing, only instead of pivoting off the knees, he's pivoting off his feet here, and it looks good. He's straight in this plane and straight in this plane as well. So that is the side bridge. The second core exercise we're going to focus on is called the bird dog. This is going to be performed on Austin's hands and knees. So what he's going to do in this position is he's going to move his opposite arm and opposite leg at the same time. So Austin, I'll have you move your left arm out and your right leg back. When he does this, go ahead and hold that. He's going to sweep just like he did up with this hand, and then straight back with his leg. Okay, come back together. And the one thing to focus on is we don't want the low back in too much extension or flex too much. So this is neutral, and that's what we want. Now with his hips, when he's bringing his legs back, it's very easy to tilt the hips. So we want him to pretend like there's almost like a book on his low back, and he can't let that book fall off. So do it one more time for me, Austin. And if you look, he keeps the pelvis pretty level and sweeps with his leg back and his arm forward. And that is the bird dog exercise. The next area of the body we're going to look at is the scapula, and we're going to show an exercise for scapular stability. This is called the scapular stability exercise. Austin's going to be on his hands and knees like this. And what the scapula does, it's like the core of your upper body. So if we don't have good control at the scapular level, it's very easy to get things like shoulder problems, elbow problems, and things of that nature. So scapular stability is essential for preventing these throwing injuries. With Austin in this position, he's going to have a band around his hands. And if you're at home and you don't have access to a band, it's not a big deal. The band just helps aid in getting the muscle to contract. So what Austin's going to do with his back flat, as you can see, he's squatted down onto his heels and his elbows are next to his knees. So he's not pushing back, he's just resting in this position. So now what I'm going to have Austin do is open up his hands. So he starts in that prayer position, and then he opens up with his palms up, and he's holding this contraction. While he's doing this, the contraction is back here in his shoulder blade. What he's trying to do is squeeze his shoulder blades down and activate his serratus anterior muscle. Rhomboid exercises where you do low lat pull downs and you're pulling straight back are also good exercises, but this specifically works the serratus anterior muscle, and that's essential for scapular stability. What Austin would do with this one is hold for 30 seconds, then he would rest, do it for 30 seconds again. Another key though is we want his head in neutral position. We want relaxation up here, and we want all the firing down here. So That looks good. So that is the scapular stability exercise. All right, next we're going to move down to the hip and glute region. This region basically stabilizes your lower extremity and in turn helps stabilize your upper extremity as well. The first exercise we're going to look at is the one-legged squat. So Austin, let me have you stand on your left leg, and you're going to basically reach down to the ground with both hands, touching them to the ground while keeping the back arched. Back up and back down. Perfect. So we want this back to stay straight and hinging at the hip. What we don't want is for him to go down and bend over like that. Back up. So what can happen if you start to bend over, you have a weakness in that region and you're just trying to compensate. So definitely we need to hinge at the hip, and that will activate the hip region. And that's called the one-legged squat. The next exercise we're going to do is the one-legged chair squat. So it's the same thing as the last exercise, only we're going to add the chair in, just adding another dimension. So another way to work the glute region. So I'm going to have Austin demonstrate this for us. He's going to throw his right leg up on the chair, and we want the left leg far enough forward so when he's squatting down, his knee does not come past his toe. So we'll do a couple reps of that, and that looks perfect. And we want the same hip hinge, and that's really going to focus on the hip glute region. So that is the one-legged chair squat. Our third and final exercise for the hip is called the clam, and this one is a little different. We're going to have the patient laying on the ground, just on their side, and we're going to focus directly in on the glute medius muscle. The glute medius is what controls knee varus and valgus, so it's very important in controlling knee stability. So what I'm going to have Austin do here is he's going to raise his knee up to about this level and then go back down. Go ahead and keep doing that for me, Austin. And he's going to come up. When he comes up, it's going to be for about a 1.5 count and then down for about a 2 count. So we want him to be going down on this part a little bit slower than he comes up. That activates the muscles during the eccentric contraction, and that's the important part of the training for this exercise. So for this one, you can do about 3 sets of 10 a couple times a day. And that is the clam exercise. The final demonstration or exercise we're going to look at is proper breathing. The diaphragm is the main muscle of inspiration and expiration, and that is what establishes the base for our body. If we don't have control at the level of the diaphragm, then the core exercises we looked at, the scapular stability exercises we looked at, and everything else are for nothing. If we don't have control at the diaphragm, then we don't have stability. So if we look at Austin's breathing here, what we want is we're going to have him take a few deep breaths in and out to accentuate it. So when he takes a breath in, we're going to have his stomach push out, and that looks good there. So keep doing that. When we breathe in, we want the waistband to expand 360 degrees around your waist, and then when you breathe in, it's coming back in. And we don't want any chest movement. If the chest rises during breathing, then that's an improper pattern. One of the tough things about this is we get so used to trying to suck our stomach in that we get improper training of our breathing. So we need to let our stomachs hang out when we breathe in and use no chest expiration. And that is proper breathing pattern. So we just looked at a few exercises that are a good starting point for injury rehab prevention. However, if you have an injury already or experiencing pain, stretching and exercises may not be enough. Come on down to Schmitt Chiropractic and Rehab, and we can help you with your recovery.